thought it was absolutely ridiculous that Bruno Fernandes was getting minutes who does not need minutes.
I couldn't disagree more with what Angelina has said.
We want to see Marcus Rashford returning back to his best form. We want to see him back confident again.
I don't know a true Manchester United fan that doesn't want to see this man succeed.
So if you said to me here now, you can retain the FA Cup, but you're going to miss out on the top four, I'd take it. Controversial, but I would take that.
I don't want to normalise being a cup team and not progressing in the bread and butter. I think what we've just seen evidence of is winning a trophy and having the memory. I was there. It was amazing.
I don't think that level of analysis happens at any other football club.
No.
But it's Manchester United.
Strap yourselves in because Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be saying more stuff and we're going to be reacting to it naturally as Man United fans.
If you love the club as much as you say you love the club, you do not go and do an interview and slate the club on a platform like that. You do not do that. That is something for me that is unforgivable.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, the talkSPORT show dedicated to all things Man United. I'm your host, Flex, and we're happy to say that the Premier League football has returned this weekend and Man United have got a win. And after the first international break of the season, we are off to a good start from the return of that. As always, I'm joined by the expert panel to debate and digest what's been going on at Old Trafford this week. So I'm thrilled to welcome back talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook, talkSPORT reporter Angelina Kelly, and making his debut on the panel is presenter and huge Man United fan, Ryan Scott Douglas. Ryan, your first time out for a run out. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling flying after that performance yesterday as well. Absolutely flying.
Only here for the good times.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was your debut after Liverpool?
I know, I'm getting called out already. Look, I'm going to be here now. I'm here through the good times and the bad times. And I'm going to sprinkle in a few stats as well. A little bit of odds as talkSPORT Bet spokesperson as well. It only feels right. So Ryan Stat Douglas here, reporting for duty.
Statman Douglas. That's what we're going to go with. That's what we're going to go with. Well, we've got a busy show coming up today. We'll be looking back on the big wins against Southampton and Barnsley. And we're going to hear from former Manchester United midfielder and Champions League winner, Owen Hargreaves, and we'll be previewing the trip to the capital this weekend as we face Crystal Palace. Now, there's been 2 games since our last episode, so let's get straight into it. A much-needed, dominant performance for Ten Hag's men last night. We smashed Barnsley 7-0. Massive relief, Angelina. That's exactly what we needed to see. You know what I mean? 26 shots on goal. Actually, you're the stats man.
I know, listen, you take it away. You're right.
26 shots on goal, 7 goals, 13 on target. Braces or galore, nearly hat-tricks.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah, that's what we want. I don't want to be too negative, but I feel like I'm going to end up sounding negative. Uh-oh. Yeah. Great win. Brilliant win. But for me, why was that team so strong and why was that bench so strong? For me personally, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that Bruno Fernandes was getting minutes who does not need minutes.
Yeah.
For me, the result is brilliant, but it was kind of concerning for me that if Erik Ten Hag did not believe in that starting 11 so much that he needed Bruno and co as backup on the bench, then we shouldn't even have those players, full stop.
But he made 9 changes, I think, and it came on late in the game. What could our team possibly be? Like, because when you look at the rest of the
youth. If you don't think...
Toby Collier was in there.
And he was playing at left-back.
Yeah.
What about Harry Amas? You look at some of the names that Manchester United have got. Even people like... And listen, I'm not saying field an 11 of kids, but, you've got people like Ethan Wheatley, you've got even... I'd take a bit of nepotism. Have Jack Fletcher, Darren Fletcher's son. He's up for Premier League 2 Player of the Month.
Scored a goal against... 2 great goals against him in the EFL Cup as well.
You look at people like Ethan Ennis as well. I just think that there are quite a few players that I would have liked to have seen. For me, it just felt a little bit... I understand that there's a lot riding on this game. I understand that Ten Hag is under a lot of pressure. I understand that cups mean a lot to Erik Ten Hag. We've definitely got that from him. But for me, I just would have liked to have seen it be mixed up a little bit. And I was very, very, very surprised at that bench that there were not some younger players.
We won 7-0, mate.
Wow.
No injuries. Got the players off that we wanted. Got the players on. Ugarte, minutes in the tank. Collier,
but Ugarte,
brilliant.
why did he
Rashford
not play the full game? He played 169 minutes for Uruguay. So why couldn't he have done a 90 minutes?
Isn't that why, though? Get 15 minutes against Southampton, 60 minutes, last night, ready to go again against Palace and probably play 90.
You know, did Dalot need the minutes? Did Casemiro need it?
Didn't have no other right-backs. No one else.
There were younger players that we could have played.
Oh, Angelina's on it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Crook is shaking.
Maybe I'm being a little bit over the top. I don't know. But for me, it's a great result, but I just was confused as to why it was so strong.
I've got to say, I'll be real with you, Flex. I enjoyed it. I almost feel shameless now after what you said. But
Sorry, guys.
I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, he took the handbrake off, and I think it's exactly what we needed. We're letting other fan bases creep into our mentality as well. Like the fear of being a meme at the moment. Like to say, we beat Barnsley 7-0, but it's only Barnsley. We don't need to caveat that, I don't think. We won 7-0. It was a complete performance. Yeah. Let's just enjoy it and move on. We've got a lot of confidence to take from that as well. There's a lot of confidence-based players in that squad, and they'll take that onto the next game. So for me, I feel shameless now. I feel shameless, but I enjoyed it, Flex.
It was good. Crookie, I mean, 7 goals is fantastic. Goals for Anthony, Eriksen, Rashford, Garnacho. Was last night a clear indication that, you know, the players are chomping at the bit and Erik ten Hag wants to take this competition seriously as well?
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more with what Angelina has said. You know. Second biggest victory since Sir Alex Ferguson left the football club. A couple of confidence-boosting goals for Rashford, for Garnacho as well, who obviously has been in and out of the Premier League lineup. Christian Eriksen getting a couple of goals to bolster his confidence. Ugarte playing an hour. He's going to start against Crystal Palace almost certainly. And from what I understand, Bruno Fernandes was chirping away in the ear of Ten Hag, saying that he wanted to get on the pitch and be a part of it. So I think all the pain and misery that we've had over the last decade, if you're going to complain about a 7-0 win, I think we're in trouble.
Angelina, I mean, I'm not going to lie.
I get it. I totally get it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you've gone down that route. I am. I get what you mean about a few minutes here and there, like like more kids to play. Yeah. I get that. Ten Hag has said recently as well that the players have to earn the right. How do we not know that, you know, in training, or is Amas quite there yet? Is Wheatley, you know, is he happy with what he's doing in training? He speaks very big about, I'm not just going to hand kids minutes because they're kids, and that, you know, it's not an automatic right to get the minutes. He's very big on that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it could have been a case of that. We're not really sure how these guys are training, how they're looking.
Well, some of these kids, I understand it's Premier League 2 or under 18s, but some of these kids have actually scored more goals than some of those players that were on the pitch. I just think Erik ten Hag is known for bringing youth through. And what kind of message does that send to those kids? Because to be completely honest, this is probably, no disrespect to Barnsley, but it's probably kind of the lower end of the kind of teams that we'll face, if that makes sense. So that was the perfect game to maybe give a few of the kids a bit of a run around. So for some of these kids, they might not get a chance for the rest of the season now. So looking at it from that perspective, I'm not saying we should have started an 11 of kids at all. I do understand why Casemiro played. I understand the point about Dalot. I understand why Rashford was played. It made sense. If Anthony hadn't have been played, there'd have been a lot of questions over it. I just think for me, it was that the bench was so strong. I was just like, do we not think that this 11 can get it over the line, kind of thing? That was where I was coming from, and it would have been nice.
Imagine he named a weakened team, and we got knocked out by Barnsley.
Yeah,
imagine the conversations that not just we'd be having, but imagine the media coverage.
Yeah, I do understand it, but I think that 11 was strong enough that I think that they could have done that.
But it was before he made the changes. He did.
I just would have liked to have seen some of the kids playing. This
we
is
win
their only
7.
chance for
I can't believe. Do you know what? The fact we're even still on this topic, I don't even know. This is Angelina's fault. What have you had for breakfast?
I'm sorry.
7-0.
Listen,
no injuries.
7-0, amazing. Anthony got his little pity penalty. Marcus Rashford got on the score sheet. Ray.
Oh, dear.
It was a pity penalty.
Wait, all right, Angela, wait. We need to get into this. We have got a lot on the show. We're not going to. I promise we're going to move past this because we did win 7-0. The whole point of the Inside Devils is we're going to display the myths and not bring the negativity in. That's for them. We're not doing it. But Angelina, we need to question you here.
Okay, that's fine.
What's happening? Tell us how you feel.
Pity penalty is harsh. Pity penalty is harsh.
It was. when it was that Carabao Cup
was a pity
semi-final...
What about how's it not
never...
confidence-boosting penalty? Why has it got to be a pity penalty?
Well, Rashford gave it to him. He needed it. Fair enough, confidence. But, you know, when he played for Brazil in the 2022 World Cup, he didn't take a penalty against Croatia, which, fair enough, he was young. I'm not hating on him for it. But the Carabao Cup quarter-final... Was it? No, semi-final, sorry. The semi-final, he didn't look even likely that he was going to take one. So it clearly was a confidence-boosting penalty that he definitely needed. But it was a pity penalty. Let's call a spade a
Crookie's chuckling away there. Cookie.
Let's call a spade a spade. He needed it, but it was a pity penalty. I'm sorry.
Crookie, is Angelina's place on this panel now at risk?
Honestly, I can't believe it. You know, I actually put out a meme last night of the 7 dwarves. I was that happy that United had scored 7 goals. I feel guilty now for enjoying this moment. I was sending screenshots of the scorers list to the kids.
I saw as well, Ryan, online, you know, people were saying, going to tell the kids, you know, because it's obviously the BAR for Barcelona, going to tell them this was prime Barcelona.
100%. So I've got a kid on the way, and I'll be telling him about that famous night against Barcelona. I'll be telling him, don't you worry. I was running around the living room.
Well, I hope this doesn't make Angelina too angry, but another player who benefited from getting minutes yesterday was Marcus Rashford. He added a brace last night to the opening goal of the season he scored on Saturday. And here's what Erik ten Hag had to say after the win at St Mary's.
In this season so far, he's playing very well and he deserved that goal, but you have to work for it. And that is what he's doing in this moment. And then you get a reward. And I think he scored a great goal. He scored already so many goals for Manchester United. And he, on his age, the number of goals is amazing, and I'm sure he will score many more goals. But to get into a season for every striker is so important to be on the scoring list. And then you're building momentum, you're building belief, and then it will come into more goals.
That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see Marcus Rashford returning back to his best form. We want to see him back confident again. We're seeing that, Ryan, now. We're seeing that there's signs that his confidence is coming back. It's about consistency. Can he get back to it now? Can he have maybe his biggest season yet? I mean, 30 goals the season before last year, complete write-off. Is this the start of him returning back to what his best is?
Absolutely. And I think a few eyebrows may have raised seeing him in the starting lineup yesterday, but within our fan base especially, I think it makes absolute sense because he gets brandished with this kind of label that he's a confidence player. And I've delved into that a little bit. So the goal against Southampton, that ended a 12-game run, 12-game goalless run, which is his second longest goalless run, that is. Okay, before that, it was 17 games in 2022. He went 17 games without scoring a goal, and we know that. But I wanted to go one further than that, so I delved into it to see when he actually broke that 17-game run, what happened?
What did it look like?
Did he continue to score? So he scored against West Ham in January 2022, then didn't score until against Liverpool in August 2022. So that's a massive run. After that goal, he goes on to score 16 goals to the end of the season. So he goes 17 without a goal, and then he scores 16 by the end of the season once he scores against Liverpool in August 2022. So he is a confidence player. So Ten Hag playing against Barnsley makes absolute sense to me because he's got one and he wants to keep that momentum going now. He scores 2, he's taking those extra touches into the box, okay, against a better opposition potentially. That touch doesn't work for his first goal. But against Palace now, he's riding high, and I think that's exactly what he needs. And Ten Hag said when he sees Rashford's teeth, that he knows.
Yeah, because we don't see it often.
We don't see it, and he knows he's going to produce. And we're seeing his teeth now. He's starting to smile again.
Angelina.
You're not expecting to start hating on Rashford now.
I mean, you know, Ryan broke down some good stats there.
Yeah.
Was you looking at it from a glass half full perspective of, well, this means he's now getting more confident, or did you look at it from a pessimistic side and go, well, this is the problem. He keeps scoring in bursts. We want consistency. Are we going to get that?
I just thought, this has been a long time coming. This is the Marcus Rashford we want to see. Listen, I always say this. I don't know a true Manchester United fan that doesn't want to see this man succeed. Everyone is behind him. Do we get frustrated by him? Does he wind me up when things happen off the pitch that I just think, what is going on? Yes. However, when it comes to the football, every Man United fan I know is backing him. So for him to for him to get, for him to have such a good game, it's brilliant. I think that there are always questions when you look at his goals season by season. There are some inconsistencies, but at the end of the day, we need to get the basics with Rashford, which is getting his confidence up, getting him scoring goals. The last 2 games seem to have done that. I understand that Ten Hag is building on this momentum. We were not criticising, but we were questioning, why he was continuing playing him in the first, 3 games. But, we want to build his confidence. We want Marcus Rashford to succeed. So for me, I was really happy for him. We all want consistency. Of course we want consistency. But like I say, we want to get those basics, and him having a good game, I couldn't be more happy for him.
Yeah, it is good. Crookie, I mean, Eric hangs his hat on Marcus, doesn't he? There was accusations last year of favouritism. Why is he still playing? Why is he not out the team? That we've discussed it. No, he shouldn't be starting. It's got to be Garnacho. It's got to be Ahmad. Is this now basically what Eric Ten Hag means? Of if I can get him going and get him being back to the main man again, we're on to a winner.
Well, it's our best hope of success, isn't it? When you look at where the goals are coming from, I think Joshua Zirkzee has a lot of good qualities, but I don't see him as a 20-goal-a-season man. Obviously, Højlund got 16 last year in a team that didn't necessarily create so many chances. But I think if he can get back to his best form, then Rashford is the best route to goal. I was quite encouraged, actually, during the international break, when, again, he would have been disappointed not to be away with England, to see him doing some one-to-one finishing training, maybe.
Did you like that, Crookie? Did you like that? Because some people said, PR...
that was with a mate of mine, can I just say? The training was with a mate of mine.
Yeah, it was really good. It was brilliant. And he's synonymous with doing that with a lot of players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's positive. It shows that he's focusing on his football again, which maybe wasn't always the case last season. And we know he's a confidence player. So hopefully, as you've mentioned already, Flex, he can take this confidence now onto Selhurst Park at the weekend, which has been a difficult hunting ground for United in recent seasons, and continue to flourish. And actually, you have to give Ten Hag credit, because I went quite strongly with him after that Liverpool game and basically said, how can you keep playing Marcus Rashford? He's not scored since March. He's not had a shot on target in the Premier League. And he said he will come good. And maybe now he's finally repaying that faith.
He said, hold that, Crookie. I know what I'm doing. You haven't got a UEFA A licence. I do. What do you know? And for me, guys, it's weird, isn't it? Because some people, like, outside of our fan base go, listen, man, I would take Rashford in a heartbeat. Like, he'd be good at Arsenal, or he'd be good at City, or he'd be good at PSG, or whatever. Get him out of that environment at Man United. And then there was a time when, as United fans, like Angelina says, we all want him to do well, but we were like, not seeing him run, not seeing the application, seeing the mishaps off the field. And we started to worry in terms of, actually, for him, we're going, he looks like he's veering off the path here. Like, someone needs to help Rashi. And I saw Rio sort of say he spent some time at Carrington recently and saw Rashford smiling and feeling happy again. And that confidence, that is literally what it is. When he's confident, he's almost unplayable. Yeah. Almost. But the problem is can we get that consistency? And Ten Hag, another thing I've been saying is, if Ten Hag wants to hang his hat on this Rashford situation and keep persisting with him, and Rashford doesn't pay him back, Ten Hag could lose his job. Yeah. And I know it won't be just because of Marcus Rashford. That's probably a bit harsh. But do you know what I mean? Like, the fans, we can see that, well, there's a kid in Garnacho and there's a kid in Ahmed. They deserve to play games here. So if you keep persisting with him and it doesn't pay off, you're in trouble. Yeah. Could this be his biggest ever season? Could this be the one? It could be.
We've dived into the stats about confidence. You mentioned it there, though. Eric Ten Hag hanging his hat on Rashford. And I think you're right in saying that. Maybe he won't be solely responsible if Ten Hag loses his job, but he is the focal point. He's the main man in this attack. He continues to pick him and pick him and pick him. My only caveat to that, without getting too negative, would be how feasible is it to base the focal point of your attack on someone who's so inconsistent? That's potentially why Man United's seasons have been quite up and down as well, because he's the main man and will continue to be the main man. But in answer to your question, yeah, man, he's going to kick on, and I think he'll have a good season. Yeah, feeling it. It's going to be a record-breaking one for.
Why not? Yeah.
why not for some positivity?
Yeah, I'll
You've got the negative bit out of the way.
I'll give you a little bit of positivity.
Yes,
why not?
We'll take it.
Right, guys, it was back to winning ways for Erik ten Hag's side at the weekend as Manchester United overcame an early penalty scare to win 3-0 on the South Coast against a struggling Southampton. Crookie, 3 goals, 3 points, questionable performance in the first half an hour. Let's be honest, we were absolutely on the ropes and it was looking like here we go again. But was that the most important thing, getting the result? And look, keeping a clean sheet and getting 3 goals, can't argue with that, can you?
No, you can't. Not to go down the Angelina road of negativity.
This is probably the right time to do it, though.
Is that what we're calling it now? Doing an Angelina?
The Angelina route.
It's a thing now. It's fine.
I think had Southampton have scored the penalty, had it not been saved by Nana, then we could have been looking at another grim away day, because I think our confidence levels are quite brittle at this moment in time. But in fairness, Nana makes the save. De Ligt gets off the mark as a Manchester United player. Rashford fires in a beautiful finish from the edge of the area. And the third goal had me off my seat. I was watching in the press room at Brighton and applauding the movement and the finish from Garnacho as well. So we'll take the positives. I thought second half, United were dominant. I watched the game back, actually, but for Aaron Ramsdale, the manner of victory could have been even more convincing. So take away the first half an hour, which wasn't great. I thought the last hour was very good. I thought Ugarte showed his strengths when he came off the bench. So, yeah, lots of reasons to be optimistic on the back of that performance.
Angelina, it was the perfect response after Liverpool, wasn't it? I mean, the pressure going into this game, losing was inconceivable, unthinkable against a Southampton side that, pretty much bottom, lost 3 out of 3 at that point. If it would have got done over by Russell Martin at St Mary's, it would have been a really, really difficult turnaround for Erik ten Hag from then. So the perfect response. Yeah,
I mean, a team that's not been able to register a point in the Premier League, it would have been a huge embarrassment. I do find it frustrating that it took the penalty situation to kind of wake us up. And I think that is a common theme that we see with United, where it takes us going a goal down, something happening for us to kick into gear. But that aside, yeah, a great performance, really good response to everything. It's hard because I'm trying not to be too negative, but it's like, this is a game we should be winning. I understand that we're not in that space yet. But at the same time, as much as I was happy and celebrating, kind of like with last night with Barnsley, these are games that we should be winning by this amount of goals, if not more. These are the types of performances we should be putting in. So on one hand, I'm like, I don't want to... I do applaud it, but it's like, no, this is the norm. This is what we should be doing.
I actually agree with you on that. That's not being negative.
Yeah,
that is realistic. The 7-0 one was crazy, but this
is more measured. But yeah, you look, it was like 20 shots, 10 on target. I just want to see more goals. I want to see us capitalising on these shots that we're having. Because when we are up against these bigger teams, we are not going to get as many shots and we are going to be sat there thinking this was wasteful, we should have capitalised on things. But a massive step in the right direction. I can't imagine the amount of pressure that must have been on them. Yeah. So for them to get a really good win like that there were, really good periods of that game that were quite enjoyable to watch.
Especially in the second half, we were flawless. They didn't have a shot after that penalty. Southampton didn't have a shot.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, happy.
Right, Ryan, what were the key takeaways from that game? What did we learn?
Yeah, well, do you know what? Actually, the stats kind of back up what Angelina's saying there. And for the record, I'm with you. I completely agree with that. That is a game we should be winning. But a lot of, again, because we're Manchester United, if the goal goes in, if that penalty goes in, are Manchester United in trouble? Well, Manchester United have actually come from behind to beat Southampton 10 times. So that penalty going in doesn't necessarily mean trouble.
See, I didn't feel like that, though. I see, that's an interesting stat. But when I was watching it, I'll be honest with you, I'm saying, if this goes in, we're toast.
We're done for.
After what's happened against Liverpool, the domino effect, I just felt would have kicked in.
Yeah.
And we'll never know, gladly, but it's interesting that the stats say we probably would have come back.
It's because we're scarred. It's because we've been hurt for over PTSD, 10 years now. That's what it is. But I mean, like you said, once Manchester United, sometimes it takes a goal to go in for Manchester United to kick on, which isn't good. That's not what we need. But it doesn't necessarily mean we would have been in trouble if that penalty gets converted.
I like it. I mean, for me, I was very much in the negative camp. Like that first half an hour, I was raging, mate. I was seething, honestly. Diblin was absolutely cooking Dalot. Dalot, if that penalty would have went in, we got to half time and we had another fullback, he could have got Casemiro'd. Like he might have got to, he was that bad.
Hooked at half time.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But fair play to Dalot and again the team, because one thing is the adversity to happen, and one thing we accuse this team of is they can't recover from it. and they took the onus after that goal and settled down. And Dalot, second half, did have Diblin in his pocket and wasn't getting twisted inside out anymore. Yeah. Got an assist as well for Garnacho's goal. He steadied the ship. He was fine. And Dalot's one that, overall, he's, mentality-wise and playing that badly, that was an anomaly for him. That wasn't like, 100%. Dalot's in the mud now. This is a really bad run of form. It was just a freak 35 minutes from him. I think he was bad. I mean, Angelina, do you think other teams would look to target that, or no, Dalot's fine and that was just a bit...
I've always really rated Dalot. I think that he's always been a really... I don't always think he gets the credit that he deserves, and I think he's been pretty strong when you look at how chaotic that back four has been. So yeah, I'm not worrying about it too much. I'm actually starting to feel more and more encouraged by the back four, because for me, shout out to Matthijs de Ligt. I mean, to go through, we spoke about it, to go through what he went through with the Netherlands, that was shambolic for him, bless him. Like, it wasn't good. And I think for him to come out, he's got pressure on him because everyone's talking about how rubbish he basically was. He's got, pressure. I think that... one of the powers that be at Bayern Munich has come out and spoken about him leaving, being like, oh, we've got better players, blah, blah, blah. There's all that kind of people saying, like you said before, oh, he barely played for Bayern Munich, he was rubbish, blah, blah, blah. There's all this stuff. Then you've got a massive high-pressure game, like that Southampton game. And for him to have such a good performance, I was just really happy for him. And I just thought that says a lot about his mentality, for him to go through what he went through in that international break, come out the other end and really show people, like, yeah, that was, let's just push that aside, that's a bit rubbish, but I do mean business, yeah.
Crookie, I mean, we saw an animated celebration from him. He had a tough time, like Angelina just said, away with the Netherlands, but him coming and getting a man of the match performance and having, such a passionate celebration as well. Do you think he's aware as well of the competition there is at centre-half? Because he's building a nice relationship with Lisandro Martinez, which, we think will look quite nice, but Lenny Yoro is going to be chomping at the bit when he gets back. De Ligt knows that, it's not given that he's going to start. He's ready for the fight, right?
Yeah, he is. I like his character, like his temperament. I think he can be a real leader, which has been lacking in that dressing room in recent seasons. Dalot certainly is one of those, by the way. But I think it's interesting as well, the scrutiny that United players are under. I saw a headline in the Times having a go at Ugarte for, shoring up midfield defensively, but offering nothing going forward.
Oh my God! We know
that he's coming as a holding midfield player. We know that. We know he doesn't necessarily do much going forward, but he played 17 minutes. Now, I don't think that level of analysis happens at any other football club. No, but it's Manchester United.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Hated, adored, never ignored, and that's what we want to see. We want to see that the team's getting more confident. The players that are coming in are getting minutes. Ugarte was another one we was going to touch on, but Crookie's just done it there. Yeah. He was brilliant in the little things that he's been able to do in that space of time. And me and you, Ryan, were talking before our recording about Ten Hag's squad now. Yeah. We're talking about the players that have been brought in for the players that have left. They're better. They're improvements. We've been given more tools and more resources. Is this Erik Ten Hag's strongest squad he's had now? Yeah, without a doubt. And he's clearly, obviously, what happened in the summer, Manchester United potentially looking here, there and everywhere for a manager. He's clearly been backed. I mean, Ugarte in the midfield, that's crazy what Crookie's just said there, by the way. Yeah. As if that's getting picked apart, that is phenomenal. He looked good, and he has that tenacity, and he's come straight into the midfield, and he frees up. He frees up other players, and hopefully, I mean, even Christian Eriksen coming into the squad as well. By the way, it was fantastic. But he frees up the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes to allow them to do what they do best. You've got Mazraoui, who I have a lot of love for Wan-Bissaka, and I wish him all the best. I really liked him as a player, but he's an upgrade. His all-round game is phenomenal. De Ligt coming in at the back, you publicly back that sign. I rated you so much for it, Flex. And he's come in and he gets a man of the match performance. So without a doubt, this is his strongest squad, and it's been a good summer for us as well. So hopefully we can utilise those players and kick on. Yeah, I'm excited by a lot of the signings that we have made, because it feels like profile-wise, for the first time in a while, we've been measured in the type of player we need, but most importantly, been measured in our approach and sort of how much money we're going to commit to signing them. We've been patient. We haven't been bullied. Arcs Newcastle, Arcs Bayern, Arcs Everton. Like, we're not taking nonsense anymore in the market. Yeah, definitely. I know we touched on it during, towards the end of the transfer window. It feels like there was a real plan with this transfer window. The players that have come in, like we said,
Crook, you'll know better than anyone, but it didn't seem like they were, second, third, fourth, fifth on the list. It seemed like we got our top priorities, our top targets. There's a lot of talk about, the Ugarte situation, like, why didn't they bring him in sooner, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, at the end of the day, they got that deal done. They got it over the line. I think it was cheaper than what PSG were asking for. They did good business. The outgoings we've spoken about, I think that they've done a fantastic job with clearing a lot of deadwood. A lot of, not a lot, but a couple of players that some people will look at and think, oh, should we got rid of him? i.e. Scott McTominay or something, but it's down to good business and it does feel like it's going in that direction.
Yeah. Crookie, another player I wanted to talk about was Joshua Zirkzee, because against Southampton, a lot of Man United fans I saw online and a lot of conversations I had with them were saying he looked good in terms of the link-up play, bringing players into the forefront, holding up the ball, etc., being that link man. But they need the goals to come, or they can't wait for the goals to come. Is it just a case of when for him, when the goals start flowing? Because he's in the positions. We had Dwight York on the show last week, who said to us it's a bigger concern if he's not getting in the positions. He just needs a few to go in now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He had two big chances, didn't he? One right at the start of the game when he slid in and didn't really make clean contact, and the one that got cleared off the line, which you could tell he was very frustrated with. As I already mentioned, I'm not convinced he's going to be a 20-goal-a-season man. It'll be interesting to see how they fit him in once Højlund is fit, and presumably he's going to go back to being the number 9. He calls himself a 9.5, doesn't he? Not quite a 9, not quite a 10 either.
I just honestly.
But I did like the way that he was dropping into midfield. I think he's got good vision. He's strong in possession. He gives you an out ball. So I think there's plenty to be positive about with him. The thing I keep coming back to, when Højlund is fit, obviously you've got Rashford firing now, Garnacho and Ahmed competing for a place on the right-hand side, and I thought Ahmed was good at Southampton again as well. There's no room for Mason Mount. That signing gets more and more bizarre because there just isn't a place for him in the team.
Yeah, and you're looking at central areas, Ryan, for Mason Mount. Obviously Bruno occupies that heavily. Eriksen's proven he can do a job further forward as well. Who knows what happens in that area, and it's more difficult. One player that Crookie just mentioned there that we haven't spoke about this episode yet, and I want to bring him in, is Garnacho. Yeah. Because actually, I think it's going under the radar what a good start to the season he's actually had. Yeah. He should have had one against Fulham. Scores against Manchester City beginning of the season off the bench. Should have had the goal against Brighton. Scored a couple last night. Southampton, really good goal off the bench. This is the type of development we want to see from him. He's chomping at the bit. He looks confident. But now Eric's got to manage that hunger amongst the three sort of wingers who we know are the main ones in Ahmad, Garnacho and Rashford. Yeah. Keep them all hungry, keep them all chomping at the bit and manage that hunger.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. I think that's a brilliant position. I mean, how often have we said that we've actually got players competing for a position because they're good? For me, Garnacho, I adore him. I'm just, stats aside, I don't care about this. I'm going to put his clothes a little red, but I adore him. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's got Manchester United surging through his DNA. He was born to play for us. I really do rate him. But you've got Amad Diallo as well, who's, again, electric.
Like a new signing.
He's so good, isn't he? And I mean, against Southampton, I don't think anybody has created as many chances as him since, 2016 in one game. For someone so young, he's 22 years old, he created 6 chances against Southampton. He is electric, and I think it's only good. Only good things can come from Garnacho and Diallo competing.
Before we look ahead to United being back in the Premier League this Saturday, it's time to check in with another former Red Devil, and this week, talkSPORT's Harry Durham caught up with 2008 double winner Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah, they look pretty far, to be fair. But football goes real quick, and I think Ten Hag has done a decent job of getting trophies while they're trying to transition. I think people expect more just from the team, just because of the nature of who they are and the money they're spending in the transfer market. But the situation that City and Arsenal are just stronger right now. Liverpool look really good under Arne Slot. So, but they gotta get it going real quick. A slow start to the season, and they need to turn around real quick. But I do like the kind of the moves they made in the summer. I do think they sound some really good players. I'm excited to see Ugarte. I think he's going to be a brilliant player. The young Uruguayan, he's brilliant against the ball, kind of winning the ball back and getting it to the guys who win you the game. So no, I'm curious to see how those new players fit in and settle in once the team settles down.
Is it a case of like building the team around someone like Garnacho or Amad Diallo, the two like young members of the squad, but two of the most exciting players in the team as well?
Yeah, I think if you're gonna, obviously Bruno's been their star player for years.
Yeah.
But I do think the shining lights the last couple of seasons really have been Garnacho and Mainu. You know, I think have been amazing academy boys. So. And that's been the culture at Manchester United. Thing is, they got to get it right in the transfer market. You know, that's where you see teams like Arsenal and City. They don't miss, and I think that's been a bit of an issue. But I do think the people that they've employed at the football club, Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox, top guys in their field, really good guys. They know that space, and I'm sure they'll start to fix those areas.
As you've probably seen on Rio Ferdinand's podcast, which the reports have come out that Cristiano Ronaldo has spoken out against Erik ten Hag, saying that he claimed to say you can't win the Champions League or the Premier League to his squad. Would someone like Sir Alex ever say that to you at the start of a season or at any point? No,
he would say the opposite. He said we've got a team to win everything. But we did have a team to win everything. And you know, Man United, let's be honest, I don't think they're in a level playing field right now with City and Arsenal, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich even. So they got to start kind of, you know, getting a squad together to compete. But no, Sir Alex, he said the opposite. He said, "You guys, you're here because I trust you, and we're going to win everything."
So do you think that Ten Hag was just being brutally honest?
Yeah, he's pretty honest, but you know. I think we always expect people to be honest in interviews and say stuff after the game, so then when people are brutally honest, then they get it thrown against them. I think if you look at the managers that have longevity in the game, they actually say less, you know, and they don't say stuff that kind of people can come back on them. So I respect the fact that he is honest, but that honesty always isn't kind of, you know, reciprocated from the press, because then they say, well, you know, why are you saying that? Why are you being critical of your team? I don't think he is. I think he understands there's teams ahead of Man United right now.
Former Man United midfielder and TNT pundit Owen Hargreaves there discussing the week's fallout and the Cristiano Ronaldo interview with Rio Ferdinand. And don't forget, you can watch the UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League on TNT Sports, which is available through its streaming destination Discovery Plus and all major TV platforms. Angelina, we have to pick up on this Cristiano situation because Ronaldo started his YouTube channel, got record numbers in record time. So we're going to be hearing a lot more from Cristiano about what he thinks about a lot of stuff.
Can't wait.
Wow, he was critical of Ten Hag. Judging by your reaction, I'm guessing you weren't best pleased with that? Or did he have a point?
I've had enough. Right. Did he have a point? I'm on one. I'm on one today. Put my blue suit on and I'm on one. I understand what he's trying to say in that should Erik ten Hag say we've got no... What was it, the actual words that Ten Hag said? We're a really long way away from winning a Premier League trophy, a Champions League trophy. Do I understand what Ronaldo's saying of, you know, he could have said, we're going to try, blah, blah, blah. Erik ten Hag, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't.
Agreed.
If he'd have said, you know, we are a little bit off it, but we're going to try and blah, 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 it'd be like... There'd be criticism of that. If he'd have walked out and said, we are definitely in contention for these things, it'd have been called delusional again. I think that it was very honest. We have to understand that Manchester United, unfortunately, are in a different space than the Manchester United that Cristiano Ronaldo primarily played in. And I want my manager to be honest. He's not saying, we're never going to do it, we're terrible, there's no point, blah, blah. But are you telling me that those players are sat there like, what, we're not going to win the Premier League? Oh, my God, that's really going to demotivate me. We all are watching the same thing.
Especially this bunch, because they're not a bunch of serial winners.
We all see it. So I understand the whole thing of maybe he could have said, oh, maybe but we'll still try. But I think we are trying. I think that's kind of obvious. Everyone tries, don't they? So, but the whole Cristiano Ronaldo thing, listen, he is one of the greatest players in world football, one of the greatest players to put on the shirt for Manchester United. He gave me some fantastic footballing memories as a Manchester United fan that I will be forever grateful for. But I cannot get on board the way that he departed the club second time round. As much as people are turning around and saying, yeah, well, he was right, Carrington's not in good nick, Ten Hag's this, blah, blah, blah. If you love the club as much as you say you love the club, you do not go and do an interview and slate the club on a platform like that You do not do that. That is something for me that is unforgivable. And to now still be throwing in your 2 pence. Listen, you've got your YouTube channel, you've got your kids, you've got your football. You should be booked and busy. Why are you pressed? Why are you stressing about Manchester United? You didn't care enough. You didn't love the club enough to keep your opinions to yourself and bow out gracefully. You wanted to stir the pot, and because your ego's so big, and you wanted to be like, oh, there's a reason why I'm doing this because all these things are rubbish. You did it for your own selfish gains. You don't love the club as much as you say you do because you wouldn't have done that. And I'm just sick of hearing it now. I'm really, really sick of hearing it. And it pains me. I can't explain how much it pains me to say this because I love Ronaldo, the footballer. I loved Ronaldo when he was at Manchester United. But enough is enough now. Nobody is bigger than my club. So for me, I've had enough.
Really strong words there. Angelina's cooking, mate.
Cooking?
Angelina's cooking right. Like,
I don't know what I had for
What more
breakfast
can you
this morning.
say? What more can you say, though?
Do you agree?
I love Ronaldo, man.
Still?
Yeah, I'll always
Yeah.
love him. I will always love him because he gave us so many good memories. But it is disappointing. I completely agree.
That's a good word for it. Yeah.
It's you say to your kid, I'm angry. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed, and I really do feel like that with Cristiano. But at the same time, you mentioned it there as you cued us in. He's got, 1 billion subscribers now on social media. He started to now inject a bit more personality into what he does on social media. He's got his YouTube channel. This won't be it.
No, this is not going to be
Just
it. No.
strap yourselves in because Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be saying more stuff and we're going to be reacting to it naturally as Man United fans. He clearly doesn't like Ten Hag. He clearly does not like Ten Hag. I think the Piers Morgan thing was definitely a step too far.
Yeah.
But we will be seeing this from Cristiano Ronaldo. But at the same time, does it shock me that Cristiano Ronaldo is same on the field as he is off the field? Absolutely not. He's gonna do what he wants and he backs himself.
Crookie, I know you're a man of big values, of what Manchester United should be, what it should stand for, what players, should stand for and how they should conduct themselves, both past and present. Is Ronaldo, being overly critical on Ten Hag because it didn't end the way he wanted it to and he felt disrespected, or does he have a point? Is this just Ronaldo having high standards, continuing to have high standards and saying that Manchester United at all times, no matter how bad they are, should have high standards?
Well, I think he's a bit of a hypocrite because if you remember back to that Piers Morgan interview, and I agree with Angelina, it wasn't really befitting of a United legend, someone who professed to love the football club. He was saying that standards have slipped, that the training ground hadn't really changed since he'd been away, that the stadium wasn't fit for purpose, that United couldn't compete with the likes of City and Liverpool. And he's now attacking Ten Hag for basically saying similar things and being a realist. Ten Hag can't come out and say we're going to challenge for the Premier League title because you've got a top 3 in the Premier League. Then I think the gap to the rest is quite significant. And the job for United this season is to make sure that they're the 4th best and maybe pick up a trophy along the way. But I think it's sad that Ronaldo felt the need to do this. I don't see any benefit to it other than getting a few hits and maybe settling a few scores, as you say. But you have to remember, this is a guy who loved United so much. He walked out in the football club not once but twice. So, yeah, is he a legend? Of course he's a
Walked
legend
out the
on the pitch.
He gave us an extra season. We can't
him.
rewrite, guys. Right.
I can't.
Okay.
I'm with Crookie on
Where's
this
my?
one.
What we need? I need a prop on this show of order. I need the hammer.
Yeah, you do.
That's
Yeah,
what
you
I
do.
need because. Okay, let's break this thing down. And for you guys at home as well, because I think right now, in the comment section, this is going to be wild. What I have learned, definitely, is try not to speak about Ronaldo online. If you do, oh my God.
Me and Crookie are done
Yeah.
for the next week. We need to go into hiding.
I just want to say I don't align myself with Ange and Crook. I just want to let you know.
Here we go.
Well, I remember during the Euros,
listen.
and one of the games when Ronaldo was trying so hard to score. What was that game? I can't remember what game it was for Portugal.
Yeah,
he just wanted to score so bad, and I went, oh, he just looks too hyped up. He's trying too hard. Oh my God, all the Ronaldo stands. How are you going to disrespect our legend, Flex? You're better than... so be careful.
Yeah.
So I do get that. What I thought about the comments was, I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised because on one hand, if I just look at it away from the self-fulfilling prophecy that is Ronaldo, I see a lot of your points, I agree.
Yeah.
He's someone who, it doesn't compute in his brain with how elite his mentality is. Like, this is back to Ronaldo, the player, which is unquestionable, right? What do you mean you can't tell me, Ronaldo, that you can't win the top honours at any point. He plays in Saudi. I bet you still can't tell him, right, you don't compete in the UEFA Champions League anymore. You can't win that. Even to him now, that would be foreign. Because I just think his mentality is so elite that if he was in that dressing room, his issue is he can't fathom how the standards have fallen. I remember him doing an interview talking about the youngsters when he was still at United. Remember, I think he was like, the problem with the youngsters now is they think they know it all. I tried to guide them, etc., etc. So he's probably looking around the place, which is probably partly he's a victim of his own success, because it's like, mate, we could have told you that you're not coming back into that elite level. You're not with Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville. Like, it's changed. We're rubbish now. But I think that was coming from a place of, if I hear that in a dressing room or any manager telling me we can't win the champion, even if we can't do it. And he was saying in public, don't say it. But then I do push back, because I'm like, you're right, Angelina. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, Erik ten Hag. We've seen him say about trophies and cups and that we're the most successful team after City since he's been here. And we go, Eric is factually right, but just please, man.
Don't say it.
He gets
but he's
for that,
factually right. He's actually right in saying that. So, but he gets called deluded. He gets called, what is this guy watching? Crook, he's been on the other end of it, of his, forgetting what he said and crumbling a little bit. And he said to Ian Laderman, I've got a different vision. I feel sorry for you. We'll be there for trophies. So when he backs himself and backs the team, he gets called deluded because we finished 8th last year. And then when he doesn't, Ronaldo calls him out and says, you've got to have standards. So I wasn't really bothered. I was like, dash Ronaldo. He always does that. Like you said, new YouTube channel, gonna say it. But his standards are high, and it always have been. And I just think he can't fathom it. How he left the football club, 100%. I took a lot of heat for that as well, because I called him out on the Piers Morgan thing, etc., etc. I don't agree with it whatsoever. But one thing I did want to ask you guys, and we'll come to you in a second, Crookie, and you guys get involved in the comments at home and let us know what you guys think. What is a successful season? I had an argument with my good friend KG on our show the other day, right? And I said, well, if we finished 4th with no trophy, I'm not saying I want that to happen, we want to win every trophy. But if we didn't, but we finished 4th, I'm saying we can't turn our nose up at that and say that isn't still a good season and we've made progress. If we finish 5th, but we win the FA Cup, I don't think it's good enough. What is a good season, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting question. I would say, would I take top 4 over a trophy? Over an FA Cup or a Carabao? Yeah, I probably would this season. I don't like to buy into what other fan bases and what the media is saying, but I would like to scrub the narrative of us as being a cup team and actually challenging in the league again. So for me, I would say top 4 would be, especially with how good the Premier League looks like it's going to be this season, I think that would be a phenomenal achievement. So I would take that. But at the same time, trophies, it's a fantastic thing. I don't really buy into the narrative about this cup team thing, but to answer your question, top 4 for me, I'm taking that.
Angelina?
I get what you're saying about top 4, and I agree. In my head, when you said top 4, even if there's no trophy, I'm on board with that. But looking at it as well, Ten Hag does keep going on about these trophies. So if that's the standard that he's setting, that he wants to be getting 3 trophies in 3 seasons, he values that just as highly as the Premier League, then we should be winning a trophy, in my opinion. So, and also, I don't want to look too far ahead into the future because we don't know what's going to happen. And also, this new format of the Champions League will be really interesting. But will this team, this time next year, again, we don't know because we don't know about form, we don't know what other players could come in, but are we really going to be in a position to be competing at a high level in the Champions League? Is this a team that's going to be getting to the semi-finals of a Champions League? I know I'm looking a bit too far ahead, but I don't know if we are. So would I maybe sacrifice a mediocre run in the Champions League and we get laughed at potentially for maybe 5th and a trophy? I probably
build up to that.
I probably would. I don't think that we're quite ready for the Champions League yet, but I could be wrong.
Crookie, quickly for you. I mean, look, Champions League, Ineos will be saying, listen, even if you don't win it, we've got to be in it every single year for, financial purposes, to be able to attract better players, to get higher revenue. We can't have back-to-back Europas just because we're not good enough to compete in the Champions League. So from a business perspective, they'll want to be in the Champions League as a minimum every season.
Listen, I love the Champions League. And when I was a kid, whenever we got knocked out of the Champions League, I was absolutely devastated. But I'm here for the trophies. I was sat behind the goal with the United fans at Wembley when we beat City. And it was just a great moment, an emotional moment, a brilliant feeling. You don't get that from finishing in the top 4 because we're not going to challenge for the title. I've already said that. So if you said to me here now, you can retain the FA Cup, but you're going to miss out on the top 4, I'd take it. Controversial,
You take it.
but I would take that.
So right now, if I offered you that right now, say, Crookie, bite my hand off right now, 5th FA Cup retained.
I'd take it because you get your day out at Wembley, you get the silverware, you get the bragging rights. As I say, you don't get that from limping into the top 4, which is probably the best we can hope for in the Premier League this season.
I don't know. I just
what
think,
do you think, Flex? What do you
the
think
problem I've got with it, I want all of it. I'll be quick on this. I want all of it, right? So I don't want to why you don't want to win cups? No, I want to win cups. My issue is I don't want to normalise being a cup team and not progressing in the bread and butter. I think what we've just seen evidence of is winning a trophy and having the memory. I was there. It was amazing. We all loved winning the FA Cup. But from that, did we have any confidence that we were a better team going into the new season now? We don't. And the reason why is because of our league form. The league form truly tells us how good we are. And if we want to start challenging for the top honours, which is the norm at Man United, not the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, the norm for Man United is challenging for the Champions League, challenging for the Premier League. Now, I get it. You've got to be realistic. We are not near winning those things. That's why I think it's more important now to maybe pivot away and say, let's start mounting some consistency that's going to get us higher up the table. But essentially, all of those really come at once. If you play better football and you're more consistent, you're going to go deep into trophies and you're going to do better in the league. So essentially, I think we're all making the same point.
Yeah.
We just want us to be successful.
Yeah.
And we want it all. Let us know what you guys are thinking. That is definitely a big topic amongst the fan base. Now, Manchester United head south again this Saturday as they take on Crystal Palace in the 5:30 kickoff. And now we have to get back to winning ways. And after their draw over the last few games, it won't be the easiest of opponents. Now, Crookie, after a nervy start at St Mary's, we see a light reshuffle in the starting 11. Do you think it will stay as we are? Ugate's going to be pushing. Does Dalot run the risk of being on the bench now? The defenders survived in the last game when they all got taken off. We were worried. Same 11 or, Ugarte in there? What are you expecting?
No, I think Ugarte will start. The fact he took him off after an hour against Barnsley was a pretty big indication.
Yes.
So I think he'll come in probably for Eriksen, which is a little bit unfortunate because I actually felt Eriksen did quite well at St Mary's, but maybe this is going to be more of a physical game. Garnacho's an interesting one because, as you mentioned, he's made a real impact this season without starting too many games. But I think it would be unfair on Ahmad if he was to be dropped because I think he played well against Southampton as well. Rashford obviously will keep his place, so it's going to be a choice between those two. I think the back four will probably stay the same, even with the issues that Dalot had on that left-hand side. So I think what's positive is we have genuine options now, don't we? We're asking, will it be Ugarte or Eriksen? Will it be Garnacho or Ahmad? Does De Ligt keep Maguire out of the team? I'm sure he does. So the strength in depth, and you've been talking about it in terms of Ten Hag's strongest ever squad, I think the proof is there.
Ryan, decent time to play Palace. They haven't, it's not a happy stomping ground for us in recent years, but this start to the season, no Elise now as well. They haven't been they haven't picked up where they left off from last year.
No, they haven't, have they? It's been a stuttering start from them. I think it's like 2 draws and two losses. I actually, a bit of egg on my face, I thought they'd start the season much better.
Yeah.
I actually had them potentially, if all things went right, potentially challenge for a European spot as well because they took off as soon as the new manager took charge. But I would say it is a good time, especially, as I say, I know you weren't a fan of the squad, but after that 7-0, after the Southampton 3-0, that's 10 goals across 2 games. We go there now. An eyebrow is going to be raised in the Crystal Palace camp.
Because this is the period now of games before we wrap up now. Like you said, Southampton meant to do that.
Yeah.
Barnsley, you definitely wasn't impressed with the 7-0. So, but now is the run of games where it's like, right, Palace away is usually a bit of a prickly one for Man United.
Yeah.
Obviously, at home in the Europa League, got to get off to a good start. Then it's Spurs at home and then Villa away, mate. There's nowhere to hide now. This is where we're going to find out about really if we're turning the corner or not.
Yeah, exactly. And you look that from this game Saturday onwards, like the next 15 days, we've got the Europa League game, we've got Spurs, we've got Porto, we've got Villa. There's a lot going on. This is a game that on paper, apart from what happened, you know, it has been difficult at times. But yeah, this is a game that we should be winning. You know, you look at Palace, they've been struggling. You know, they've sold 2 of their best players in Elise and Anderson. In my opinion, they should be there for the taking. And I just want the momentum to continue. I personally would just play all the kids, joking.
Probably would.
Yeah, putting 11 kids out. No, I do expect... this whole Garnacho thing, I think is going to be very interesting because he's become almost this kind of super sub, and his success in coming off the bench is almost damaging him in that he's not getting these starts. But he's been absolutely fantastic, and he won't want to be a super sub.
No,
he deserves to start.
His
form, he does deserve to start. But how often have we said, as Man United fans, we want a player that's going to come off the bench and really make an impact, and we finally got that, so we're kind of clinging on to that. But it's funny because last season, you know, I think he played like 38 successive games that he started for United. He only had about nine games where he came off the bench, didn't score in any of them. But then the season before, he was a bit more of a super sub again. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's going with him. I'm gutted for him because I don't think he'll be starting, but at the same time, you kind of understand it. But I'm actually, as much as I was negative about the 7-0, I'm actually really looking forward to this game.
Good. And we're going to hear how much you're looking forward to it when we get your prediction right now. Let's go around the room. Crookie, let's lock it in. You was conservative against Southampton. You've been conservative in a lot of them. I've decided to take your lead on that, and as an experienced Man United fan. But we feel a little bit more confident now. What's your prediction going into this game?
Well, I think it will definitely be better than it was last year. That won't be too difficult.
So we won't lose 4-0. Might lose 1.
I'm going to go for a win. I mean, again, Ryan might have the stats. It's not often in recent seasons that United have strung together back-to-back away victories, but I think there's a massive opportunity to do that against a Palace side who aren't playing great. I'm going to go United to win 2-1, which was my prediction last week as well.
Yeah. Ryan?
I am actually going to go 2-1 as well. Manchester United have lost the last 2 away games to Palace. It has to be said. I got to put it out there.
Exactly.
So, I don't think it's going to be easy. And yes, we enjoyed the 7-0. Some of us enjoyed the 7-0. But we can't get carried away. We do have to be mindful of that. I think it'll be a hard-fought game. And I think potentially Garnacho will make an impact off the bench. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's about who starts and it's also about who finishes as well. So I don't necessarily read into that too much. I'm going 2-1. I think we edge it.
Okay, there's a couple of 2-1s there. Angelina, you?
I am really going to back the defence. I'm going to back the goalkeeper because he's been getting a lot of stick. But we've had some clean sheets. So I'm going to go 2-0. I'll go 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very the most optimistic out of the bunch because I'm going to match you guys with the 2-1 as well. Okay. I still think that first half an hour against Southampton...
Raise an eyebrow.
I think against better opposition, there's still some questions we need to answer. And if you have half an hour like that against Palace or give Eze that type of space and time or give him a penalty... He ain't missing, mate. Or even Mateta at this point. You know, Eddie Nketiah as well. So I just feel that, I think we'll win, but I think it'll be like 1-1 at one point in the game, and then we'll go on and get the win. But I do think it's going to be difficult. So, but wins all round.
Yeah, who says Man United fan gets carried away, eh? 2-1, 2-1, 2-0, that's all right.
Exactly, that's what we want to see. Thank you very much, guys. That's all we've got time for on this week's episode of Inside Devils. A huge thank you to Alex Crook, Angelina Kelly, and Ryan Scott Douglas. And we'll see you on next week's episode. Hopefully, with another 3 points in the bag. That's what we're going to do. We'll become 3-point collectors. See you next week.